G'day, and welcome back to the last alliance of Noobs and Men. I'm not doing a tier list today, and you all will be thankful I'm not doing a fucking painting video. I'm doing a favourite model or favourite profile video. So, brought along a few friends, some big names, some smaller names, but all friends nonetheless. So you'll see the likes of Zorpazorp's going to make a show, and a few of the lads from WARG, the lads from No Might No Fate, Two Towers podcast, Jeremy from the Green Dragon podcast, Vanguard Strikes, Conquest Creations, and of course, a few of the lads from Noobs. So I went around and asked them, hey lads, can you send in a video that is 2 to 5 minutes, just explaining why this is your favourite profile, who it is, and for whatever reason. There is no real criteria for what anyone's favourite model could be. The only criteria is that is your favourite model, whether that be profile, sculpt. If it's your favourite, it is your favourite. But we're going to start off with mine. And my favourite one could potentially be due to some recency bias and just how often I've been using them. Just can't look past them. Every time I've tried to choose something else, I always just wanted to keep coming back to this guy. And I've gone with Grimborn. Big boy Grimborn. Now why'd I go Grimborn and not Bjorn? One, the bear form of Bjorn looks a bit malnourished, but it's solely because of the Berserker rule. That rule on its own puts Grimborn up a level for me. They're the exact same. He might be one fight less, or he is one fight less than his father Bjorn, but honestly that's not an issue most of the time. But 8s everywhere. 3 attacks, 3 might, 3 will, 3 fate. 3's in all the right places. And then you chuck him into the Legendary Legion and suddenly skyrockets up. He gains monstrous charge. He gets what I've dubbed the bear save, so that's the 5-up save, which has saved my ass numerous times. Resistant to magic, but as I mentioned it just before, monstrous charge. That is the big one. Suddenly, I don't need to use the brutal power, the bear hug brutal power attack, which is a lot of fun. But I definitely prefer the option of rolling 8 dice at strength 8 as opposed to 1 dice at strength 10, and you do get to keep wounding. And I have had it before where I have wounded Thror 15 times with that strength 10 roll, which is fucking whack. I just feel that 8 strength 8 dice, because you knock them over with monstrous charge, outweighs the potential of rolling a 1 or a 2 with the bear hug. I just have fun throwing these guys forward with, reckless abandon. Just throw them forward. But I also love bears. Without a doubt, bears are my favourite animal. It looks a bit like a zebra because it's upside down, but I promise you that is a bear. So that they're without a doubt my favourite profile in the game. But that's enough about me. No one gives 2 shits about me. I think we'll start off with the boys over from WARG.
Release the WARG!
G'day gamers, it's Mick from WARG here.
Hey guys, Jeff from WARG here. Been invited along by the Noobs to, sort of talk about my favourite model in the game and give a bit of a reason as to why. So yeah, today I'll just sort of give you a quick look. So my favourite model in the game is actually this King George V battleship I built when I was a teenager. It's so fun to... just taking the piss. Probably no surprise to anyone. My favourite model is actually the big scary bat himself. He's sort of started off, I bought him because he looked cool, and then the more I've played him, the more I realised just how powerful he is. I love playing competitively, but aside from looking cool, his rules in game are actually really quite potent too. He's got a few glaring weaknesses which any opponent can take advantage of, and a lot of new people that you see pick him up sort of play him and he dies turn 2 and they go, this isn't what I was promised. But if I had any advice for you, stick with him, work him out. He's well worth the learning curve. Once you learn how to use him, he can win games for you single-handedly, look cool while doing it, and it's not a model, no other model in the game really can do what he can do. The downside of that is that he can die instantly. So, and yeah, this fella is probably the reason that I've won Briscoe, which is like a 1,000-point escalation tournament. And honestly, I'd say between the Witch King and Gulavhar, it's a pretty hard pick. But I've never taken Gulavhar to an event and just found him wanting. You know, once I worked out how to get around his couple of weaknesses, put him where he needed to be, yeah, he can bring games home for you. And there's just these moments where you look. First thing I do is look at the table and say, this and this and this, and then if this happens, these are all threats to Gulavhar. Once I've managed those threats, I know, yep, there's a good chance that as long as I don't do anything too drastically wrong, this is probably my game. And yeah, once you get to that stage with him, sometimes it's not very fun and interactive with your opponent, don't get me wrong, but the amount of thought and setup you have to make sure that he doesn't get taken out because of his low defense, I honestly think the payoff is that he does what he does. As much as I love him, just be aware that if you get good with him, you might get to the point like where I am now, I start feeling a bit bad running him at friendly games sort of thing. Tournaments, you don't hold anything back, but definitely for friendlies, if I run Angmar, I'm a big fan of running WARG heavy or something like that, something that gives the opponent the ability to interact, because if Gulavhar played well, if you're playing him right, you don't give the opponent the opportunity to deal with him, and it could be considered slightly oppressive. But it takes a lot of practice to get to that stage, so keep at him, guys, and bats for life.
Hey guys, Jarek here from WARG. For me, it's definitely got to be Big Thranduil, as we call him. Here's one I prepared earlier. How good is that? Yeah, just a really, really cool hero. He's different to the other Elven Lords in the lore and that sort of thing. And so that sort of attracts, that's what sort of draws me to him. But also just his rules. You can sort of start him at 100 points, build up. He scales really well, 120, 140, 160, 180. Big 190. You can sort of give him the sword, you can give him the circlet, the heavy armor, the elk. You can just sort of jack of all trades. You can sort of fit him in wherever you need him to. And he just really supports his army. You really feel like he's this Elven Lord who's just, in charge of his army, making him do stuff, making him kill stuff. He's just a really cool hero in terms of his rules. And then just the models as well. Really, really nice models, obviously all of them being relatively new. So just really nice. The elk, the Forge-Rolled Elk model is outstanding. Probably one of the best, if not the best in the range. So yeah, definitely Thranduil for me. Tyrell, close second. Mirkwood range is something I really like. So yep, Thranduil, number one. He's got my vote. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video.
So my favourite model. Tough one. I had a couple of choices, which I'm going to run through super quick. I don't want to hold everyone up here. My first initial thought was the Mahud Raider, because I do love the chaos that those guys can bring to a game. Just the battle lines that have disappeared. If you've seen a few of the battle reports on the WARG channel of the camels just going pinballing 3 or 4 models, removing 10 models, and just the chaos that can ensue. Really nice. The other thought for me was the Mirkwood Spider, which I've pulled off some shenanigans with in the past, like Contest of Champions, turn 1, shoot Gil-galad off his horse, he's prone, Spider Queen eats him, things like that, or sniping banners with them, because they're hilarious. But undoubtedly, the choice that I had to go for, kind of forced myself here, is Sauron. Not because I think the model's any good in particular, it's kind of what he brings to the game and the fun that you can sort of have when you're playing him or against him, despite what some people may think. He's not a very efficient piece at all at 400 points. He's not super good by all means. There's plenty of models that kill way more than him. I'd argue most heroes are more efficient than him. Probably an Orc Captain on WARG has outperformed him in a few of my games before. But the inevitability that he brings when you put him down on the table, and one of my favorite things to do is just push him forward and keep the rest of the army back and just go, okay, we've got 2.5 hours. We're trapped in the steel cage, and let them strike, let them do everything, and just save the might for ring rolls. And you wait until their entire army's out of might before you push your army forward. And it's just like, okay, now it's time for me to start rolling some dice. And plenty of tournament games, I've sat down for the first 2 hours just to get up in the last half an hour and go, okay, I'm playing now. And that can be really fun. And you can have, if you've seen the report against me and Liam playing, some of the funny moments that can happen with Unstoppable, and when a big 400 point hero whiffs, it's pretty good. So yeah, I think Sauron, not because of the model. God, I hope we get a new one with the Rings of Power series. But just the way he changes the game from this infantry skirmish to, I have this guy and I need to deal with him. And there's not that many missions where people can play around him, despite what people may think. So that is going to wrap up my favorite model in SPG. Thanks, boys.
G'day gamers, it's Mick from WARG here, coming to you from my own home. Why the fuck you make me do this, Sean? I hate this shit. Alright, Sean's asked me to do a bit of a favourite model in the Lord of the Rings range, so being a troll myself, I was thinking about picking a piece of terrain, but I better not, I probably should pick a model. So one of my favourite models, is very hard to narrow it down. I'm always a fan of Team Evil. I'm not really a fan of the goody two-shoes, prim and proper elves and men and stuff like that, even though I do like playing their armies. But I had to pick something from Team Evil. It's one of my favourite armies to look into, and it's definitely some of the aesthetics in those models was very hard to narrow down what I really liked. Definitely the Witch King was up the top there for me, and definitely those Castellans, a dog or door, definitely do it for me. But I think the one that takes the crown for me is the Troll Chieftain. I know trolls aren't the best, or monsters in general aren't the best in this edition this far. They still do their work, but they aren't up there compared to some of the other models. But he definitely does look one of my favourite pieces out there. So he does have some pretty good stats. Fight 7, Strength 7, Defense 8, 3 attacks, 3 wounds. You could definitely take him in that Legendary Legion as well. I think just the model is definitely does it for me, just with that extra armor on the mask and that sword leaning over, like he's just about to take Aragorn's head off at the final battle there. It's one of my favourite models. So yeah, I really think that's one of the best sculpts I've seen done for a troll, especially compared to the plastic one. So definitely love to see him leading those armies from the Black Gate. So that's one of my favourite models, and this is Mick from WARG signing off, and peace out, guys.
Cheers, lads. Look, we all knew that you guys were going to choose some disgusting stuff there. So you've seen Gulavhar's popped up. I do love Gulavhar. He's great. I think the bears are better. Anyway, that's another debate. Jeff will probably say otherwise. Sauron, filthy. Cal, mate. I know what you can do with him. And Granddaddy, good pick with Granddaddy. He's a solid model and does exactly what he needs to do, and he can mince through nigh on anything. And then the Troll Chieftain by Mick, that was an interesting choice. Next up, we'll have the lads from No Might, No Fate go over their favourite models.
Hello, my name's The Weather Pig, at least that's what I go by, as that's the name of my model painting based YouTube channel. However, today I am here as 1/3 of No Might, No Fate, a fellow Australian based battle report YouTube channel, doing battle reports for the Middle-earth strategy battle game, and we're here today to discuss our favourite models along with the boys from Noobs. I was kind of conflicted on this one. I definitely wanted to put up Gothmog, as historically he has been my favourite. However, the old model's not too hot, and the way I painted him is not too hot either. So, Thror it is. What really sets MESPG apart from other war games, in my opinion, is the fact that it really feels like leaders are leading. I feel like it really emulates a battlefield better than any other war game I've played before. And Thror is a perfect example of that, as not only does he have the ability to hold his own, he is primarily a leader in a number of ways. First of all, he denies leader wounds as he's defense 9 and wields the Arkenstone, resulting in him being practically invincible. He also has the ability to heroic challenge enemies to shut down the enemy's ability to lead. Second of all, he is a 6-inch banner as a result of the army bonus, which I love banners with extended ranges. I love hero banners. Thror is the perfect model for me. Third of all, he upgrades Grimhammers in his warband to Guardians of the King, resulting in his troops being a lot stronger. He brings his Honor Guard into battle and then goes on to inspire them further. And fourth of all, he has the Ring of Thorin, allowing him a priority reroll. So when you put him on the table, he is affecting the battle at large. He feels like a leader, he feels like a king, and while he can do damage, that's not what he's there to do. He's there to lead.
So for my favourite model in MESBG, it's got to come down to these two blokes. Helm Hammerhand is not even debatably, he is Rohan's best beat stick, but in order to get him to that level, you have to take him in the Legion. And I am not really one to always run Rohan Legions. I prefer just running green Rohan. So Helm Hammerhand Light is my favourite character to play. Theoden is 95 points when I play him. I don't take him with Throwing Spear, and he is terrifying. He's one of those heroes that you can put him up against something that is nigh unkillable, and he will kill it with those rerolls on the charge. And because I'm playing him green, he's strength 5. Yes, he has to charge, but you just play around with that. You just box him out when you need to, and then you let him loose. Yes, he hit every branch on the ugly tree when he was born, and then I think Theoden might have stood on him a couple of times. But if you do a head swap with Aemir, he's fine. He turns out alright. You can actually play with him without being ashamed. So, Theoden.
Hey guys, I'm Mop. My favorite model would have to be Glorfindel. Not only is he a badass for killing a Balrog, and also being brought back for killing a Balrog, he's pretty good in the game as well. Not as good as Gil-galad or Elrond, I would think, but it's very nice having move 12 when he's on Asphaleth, Fortify, Spirit, and Terror, with 3 attacks, 3 wounds, 3 might, 3 fate.
Helm Hammerhand you don't really see around here too often in the Queensland community anyway. I know of 2 people that run him. I've seen him on the tabletop maybe once, but I know he is incredible. He's a really solid model, and it's good to see that, you know, other people really like him as well. Then we saw Thror, who I know a couple of boys who are going to be cheering about that. Just that big beefy D9. If he wants to use his Arkenstone and just never die, he can also do that. It's very tough to get through. I think Glorfindel as well. Big, especially with that new model. Sexy new model on Glorfindel. Next up, we have a local lad, Sam, who runs the Reapers group, who I'm very fortunate to attend every fortnight on a Thursday. Great group of lads. But he's run in with his favourite model. Here it is.
Hey Sean, hey everyone. It's Fisherman here from Reaper Squadron Gaming, and I'm putting in my favourite model, favourite profile. So thanks for inviting me. But I have to stick with Rohan. It's my absolute favourite faction. I don't think there's anything cooler than the boys in green riding across the battlefield. Special mention to Helm, absolute beast-stick. I love seeing Helm on a table. So I think there's another Helm player, Riley Allen, so shout out to you, mate. My second honourable mention has to be Elf Helm. I love his rerolls to hit in the way into win and all that sort of stuff, so he's a really cool hero. Should have had Strike, but that's another question, another video. But my absolute favourite model is, for a few reasons, it's one of the most expensive warrior models in the Factions of Good. It has an armoured horse in its base profile, fight 4, strength 4 in base, so it has to go to the Sons of Eorl. They're absolutely the coolest model in the game. They have, definitely one of my favourite things about them is that it's the only metal horse out of all the warriors in Rohan. Everything else gets a plastic horse for some reason, so Real Guard, Outriders, etc. Even some of the hero profiles only have a plastic horse, but the Son of Eorl model is full metal. A bit annoying to put together sometimes, but super fun to see when it comes together, and just the weight of it when you have an army of them. So I love the fact that it has a really great special rule connected to its main hero leader, Eorl the Young. So having 3 attacks on the charge, that's strength 5, but you can also piercing strike, so 3 strength 6 attacks on the charge at fight 4, potentially knocking someone down and doubling that is pretty crazy on a warrior model. Hence the 20 points, obviously, but they just work so well. I had a game recently against some Ents, and when they come off, they just chop down those Ents so quick. It's awesome. But basically, yeah, Son of Eorl, super cool. Love the way they look, love the way they play. I just wish that they were on the table more, because they're only really good with Eorl the Young, unfortunately, so they don't really see much of play. But if there was an Eorl the Young Legendary Legion out, I'd be playing that all day, every day. It's just waiting for that 7th Rohan Legendary Legion. We definitely need it before Lothlorien, so that's fine. Alright, thanks guys, bye.
Thanks for that, Sam J. Next up, we have one of the co-coordinators for the Queensland community, in Patrick Matrager, who is coming in blazing hot. That's all I'm saying.
Just talking about this is getting me really bricked. Hey guys, Pat here. The Targaryens from the Game of Thrones, you got, the features in Harry Potter, in Maleficent, Hercules, a ton of Disney franchises, even Shrek. They all have something in common. What am I talking about? Well, of course, I'm talking about dragons. How does that relate to what I'm here today to tell you what is my favorite miniature? I use that term very loosely, and of course, I'm talking about the one, the only, the cheapest and greatest of calamities, Smaug or Smaug, or however it is you choose to pronounce him. No matter what you decide to call him, he's gorgeous, he is terrifying, he is fire, he is death. To me, this, miniature that's like quite literally bigger than my cat is my favorite model profile in the entire game, and I kind of have three chief criteria when it comes to justifying that. The first one is just like how the model looks. It does not belong in a miniature game, and because of that, I love it, right? When you have him on the board, he takes up a significant portion of real estate on the board, and he's bigger than terrain pieces. You can have 3 or 4 houses on a board, and Smaug is still not fully in cover, and that to me is just awesome. It's so thematic and it's so cool to see, and I'm definitely there for that. The second thing is obviously how he plays on the game. He's an absolute beatstick, he's an absolute monster, his stats and profile are terrifying, as he should be. He's a single model for your entire army. I primarily play, rather competitively. I like to kind of push for podiums and most of the tournaments I try to attend to. But I also love kind of more casual games as well. When it comes to Smaug, he can fill those different kind of roles depending on what it is you want to do and how effectively you want to try and fly around and kite and breathe fire. Or if you're, more eager just to kind of get stuck in and have a really good time, he fills all those kind of roles. He has magic, he has shooting, he has combat. He's one of the few models in the game that are kind of, above Fight 8 or Fight 9. He's terrifying. He's just really, really, really fun. Which kind of ties into my third point, which is what it feels like to play with and against him. There's a lot of armies, a lot of miniatures in this hobby where you can sit down and look across, and see your opponent's army and think, they have multiple Avenger Bolt Throwers, Sean, or they have, Iron Hills Ballista, or they have, Boromir with the banner, and you might think to yourself, this is going to be an issue, this game might not be as fun, I'm going to have to really sit down and focus to get the W on this one. With this miniature, if he is across the board from you, every single time I've played him, or taken him to a tournament or a casual game day, my opponent's eyes just glint, for a lot of the time, in a lot of traditional RPGs or games, it's about getting to the end of the game, getting to the end of the level, and fighting the big dragon, and this is exactly what he gives. You sit down across your opponent, and you give them your little A4 printout of all of his rules, say, yep, take 5-10 minutes, give it a read, got any questions, let me know, let's see if you can kill the dragon, and my opponents love that. There's something so aesthetic and fun about just throwing, hordes of Rohirrim, or sinking archers, or siege weapons into Smaug to try and bring them down. Even if my opponents get roasted and tabled and flogged, they sit there, cheering for their heroes. I find whenever I play him, most of the time, I'm booing Smaug and cheering on their heroes, trying to get them to strike up higher, and I want to see them kill the dragon. For me, he's just fun to play, and I think it gives a really fun opportunity for your opponents to just kind of, a lot of the times, throw strategy and tactics out the window and just go kill a fucking dragon, and I think a lot of people like that. You can definitely have the flip side to it, where if you're going to fly around and kite and use magic and, optimize your strategy with him, yes, he can definitely be a handful and maybe not the most fun to play against. But I think he is the quintessential, every single player should have one game against Smaug or Smaug. See if you can kill them, and I guarantee even if they get tabled, they're going to have a fun time. And for me, that is why, this small dog is my favorite miniature in the game.
Yeah, I expected this from you, Pat. Fucking Smaug. What a laugh. He's an absolute hoot to go up against. There is nothing better than throwing your entire army into a dragon and just seeing what happens. It is a lot of fun. I've gone up against Pat and his Smaug 2 or 3 times now, and every single time we've had laughs. It's been great. Up next, we'll dive into one of our podcasters, and that is Jeremy from the Green Dragon with his favourite model.
Jeremy here, and I have to give my favourite character, favourite profile from the Lord of the Rings, the Middle-earth strategy battle game, and of course it's going to be someone from Dunland, and of course that person is the one and only Goroth. Goroth Ironskin. Now this profile came out in War of the Ring and it just took the Dunland army from being, well, the best army, but not so much on the gaming table, but now to the best army in the game. He's such a great profile, very simple profile, but it works so well. For 70 points, which is a bargain, don't FAQ it please, you get 3 points of might, a point of will, a point of fate, and a really good hero profile. So a fight of 5, which is always nice, strength of 5, which is very good, defense of 5, and he's got a weakness, 3 attacks and 2 wounds, also a weakness of 2 wounds, a courage 4, not amazing courage, but everything else pretty good, and a special rule that just takes him to the point. He's got his own version of the heroic challenge, which is essentially that he starts in combat with a character, he gets a free heroic defense if he chooses to, which means you can't do a strike, or you can't do your heroic strength, you're not going to do that. But it does take him apart from the other characters. It means that heroes have to deal with him in a different way than before, which is really nice. He's got some axes, he's got a dagger, so he's got choice of hand weapons, but he's just a really nice profile. And I love the Dunland army. I think a lot of the Middle-earth factions need more human representation. There's not a lot in there. We've got a lot of elves and dwarves and things, but not a lot of the human cultures, and it's finally, we're getting the Dunland. This guy is one of the few guys that you'd take in the Isengard armies from Dunland if you're just running a pure Isengard list. He would make a fantastic Berserker captain. If you just took one of the Berserker models, maybe gave it something to stand it apart, make it albino, or put an extra helmet on it, or whatever. Take this guy as a profile, because it really does work. It's a strong profile. It's that typical Berserker, but he's got not got the courage of it. He's got the attacks, he's got the brutal just combat, but also can be taken out. Even small infantry models can take him out. So it's that real glass cannon model that I love in the game. So that's my favourite profile, Goroth from the Dunland faction.
So Jeremy's gone with Goroth Ironskin there, which is a huge shout. His ability to just walk in and stand on a small hero, like a captain, or in my case, Ingold, and just call free heroic defenses every turn. Incredibly. Next up is another podcast, and that podcast is the Two Towers podcast. This is Albert and Geordie's favourite models.
Take my face off.
Team, and welcome to the official unveiling of the Two Towers podcast. I'm Geordie.
I'm Albert. You've probably seen Geordie's face before.
Well, yeah,
but
a bit. But
here's my face. So let's start with the correct answer. Geordie,
right.
Take us away.
All right, I've got a bit to say here. So first of all, I've chosen the Eastling captain as my as the best model in the game. Right. First of all, I'm going to point out. I'm going to show the camera, but we'll do a bit of magic editing for the conversion. I mean, look at that dude.
It's pretty sick.
And just for reference, I've got the OG captain as well. So just a regular lad.
Rolling with
shield on his back, just loving it. Oh, so many captains. All right. So conversion aside, and look, that's actually a Dragon Knight converted. So the Dragon Knight gets a little points here, but captain's what we're talking about. All right. First of all, the role in the army.
Yep.
Right. Eastlings, all about speed.
Yeah.
The only marcher in the Eastling list is the captain. And now you're saying, well, you've got a drum, you don't need it. You already moved 9 inches. But what if I want to move 12 inches? Or what if I want my Dragon Knight to reposition 20 inches? Which is kind of the way that you get most opponents caught off guard, because they're like, I'm out of your 9, And then you go, well, I'll bull rush this Dragon Knight 20 inches across, and now suddenly him and like 2 cataphracts are in charge range, and you can trap, well, not trap, but like get a hold of them.
Yeah.
And then they have to start committing resources there. So there's that, right? The march. Good stats, and they're pretty cheap. It's like 55 points with a shield.
Good utility.
Huge utility. So they've got a few things going. Ran on foot with a shield, nice, strong. Fight 4's their weakness, you would say, but that's not even that bad. But strength 4, 2 attacks, huge. Defense 7, huge. And what else we got?
You can put him on a horse.
We can chuck him on a horse for 10 points, but you lose the the all-important axe, which we'll get to that one. All right, so good stats, good beater. Back before the Dragon Emperor existed, everyone was saying Eastlings don't have killing power. I would rock like 2 captains in my front line and never struggle.
Yeah, okay.
Strength 4 and 2 attacks is already normally enough, but they have an axe.
Yeah.
Now, I have strong opinions about special strikes in Middle-earth. Orcs being able to piercing strike breaks the game. But very specifically, the Eastling Captain is the only profile in this list denoted as having an axe.
Yeah,
so I think very specifically he's supposed to be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I've given myself an exemption here. So I'm happy piercing striking with captains. Brings them up to fight 5.
Strength 5.
So strength 5, yep.
Yeah.
They baseline start with a 2-handed axe, importantly. So when they're in the front line, they just chuck up the 2 hands, they chuck up the piercing strike, strength 5 +1 to wound. You've already got 3 dice in the back line with the 2 pikes and the banner. So you're not even like struggling to win combat, so they can just do a huge chop. And what else we got? I think that's about it. So Albert, what are your thoughts on the best model in the game?
Well, I thought, why choose one when you can choose 3?
Good stance. Strong.
So I went the King's Champ for the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm / Moria. Now, this is, again, a conversion job. Through the power of editing, I'm sure we'll be able to
some much nicer shots than
show some cleaner
blurry us in the background.
So I converted this up back in the day because I never really liked, like, the base model that GW does is okay, but I was pretty happy to convert up a couple of Khazad Guard for the Heralds, and then the old captain that came without a shield served as the base model for the King's Champ. So, awesome little hobby project aside, King's Champ, I think, is probably the best hero in the Durin's Folk list. Like, you never leave home without him. 3 attacks, strength 5, fight 5. Sorry, fight 6. Fight 6. I'm selling him short already. And that's just the first model. That's just him.
What else we got cooking?
Then you bring his friends along, and they buff him to pieces. Not only do they give the defensive buff if you've got them in base to base combat, base to base, but you've also got the sharing of fate. So you stick them in base contact, and if the King's Champ gets into a bit of a dicey spot, they can cover for him pretty well.
As many as 5 fate total.
5 fate.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
For 130 points.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the points efficiency of this bundle. It's a bundle deal, and you never leave home without it because you always want to take a couple of banners. Why? Because you don't get spear supports in the army unless you're taking bolt teams. But aside from that, and being able to have the utility and versatility of, okay, if the King's Champ really needs to be a one-man army, you can keep the 2 banners together and really buff up his defense.
Rock that D9.
Generally, I don't do that. Generally, it's the ability to actually pump him up to defense 8, which is fantastic, with just 1 banner in support, and then having the second banner go off and support his friends elsewhere. I don't think that there's really too much else to say about the King's Champ. Like, he really is a powerhouse, and if you want more articulate commentary, then go and listen to the Green Dragon. They do a great spiel about how amazing the King's Champ is, and like, just take him and see. The only weakness that he has, magic.
I'd say he always whiffs.
only when
That's only when I verse him.
Only when I bring him against you.
Yeah.
Anyone else, he chops.
Chops hard.
No, look, I mean, like any dwarf hero, his mobility is an issue, and yes, if he does, he's not going to have the same hitting power as, say, a mounted
cat
hero.
But, who cares? But look, I think that's both our best models covered.
Yeah.
I know which one I'd choose.
Yeah, I know which 3 I'd choose.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Genuinely incredible picks there from the lads. The Eastling captain was a shock for me. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting something from the Eastlings from Geordie, but I wasn't expecting the captain. But he made some absolutely incredible points there in favour of him. And mate, Albert, you've picked an absolute killer model. The King's Champion, what is he, 140 points. For his points, he's probably one of the most, or the best value models in the game, in my opinion, alongside Burdur. It's a really, really solid pick there. Next up is the big boy himself. Well, he thinks he's the big boy of SBG. That is Jacob from Conquest Creations.
Oh, Mimi big boy.
Hey there, Last Alliance Noobs and Men. Thank you for asking me on. I'm Jacob from Conquest Creations. And talking about my favorite model is pretty tricky because I like most of the models, to be honest. And it definitely changes a lot depending on what I'm playing. I'll go through a few that were big runners-up. Gundabad Berserkers are insanely good. The Bat Swarm is my pick for the best model in the game in terms of how competitive it is. But this time, I wanted to bring some attention to a model that I think goes underappreciated. And it's in one of my favorite army lists that also goes underappreciated, and that is Thorin's Company. I have chosen Ori from Thorin's Company. Now, why do I like this guy so much? Well, there's a few reasons. Firstly, he's terrible at fighting. He's fight 3, strength 3, 1 attack. For a hero, that's not good. But he has a couple of really cool special rules that make him awesome. The first one is Chronicler. Now this basically gives every member of Thorin's Company within 3 inches of him Blood and Glory. So if they kill a hero or monster, they can regain a might. But it's actually a little bit better than Blood and Glory because they can choose between a might, will, or fate. His other special rule that I absolutely love is called Deadeye. Now, Ori has a slingshot, and slingshots have a strength of 1 and a range of 12. But if you stand still, you get 2 shots with your slingshot. Now, straight off the bat, that doesn't sound great, but that's where this special rule comes in. If he rolls a 6 to hit, it ignores all in the ways and automatically wounds. Now, it doesn't have to be a natural 6, so he has 1 point of might that he can spend on that as well. That means you have 2 dice to get a 5, and you can potentially take out any hero's horse. I played a game with Ori recently, and his slingshot went through 7 in the ways and a window to kill Imrahil's horse. It's an absolutely phenomenal special rule and makes him so good at sniping. I definitely encourage everyone to give Thorin's Company a shot and to pay close attention to what they can do with Ori. That's my favorite model at the moment. I'm sure it's going to change in a couple days' time when I play with a couple other armies, but make sure you pay attention to Ori. Thanks for asking me on, Sean, and I'm really interested in seeing what other people have chosen for their favorite models in the game.
Sick pick. Honestly, incredible. Well chuffed that you went with him, because I've seen you put some fucking work in with that boy. We'll now move on to the big man on campus, Mr. Lachlan Linton King from Zorpazorp.
Let us taste that sexy voice.
Okay, one take wonder, Shawnee. Here we go. So there's a whole range of profiles in the Middle-earth strategy battle game that are absolute bangers, and narrowing it down to one, my favorite, is a little tougher, so I'm going to give you 3. 2 honorable mentions and then our big finale. Up first is, of course, my boy Theoden, the King of Rohan. And Theoden's particularly special to me because I started really playing with Rohan in the last edition, the Hobbit edition, as well as all through the editions, but seriously at events and at tournaments. And back in the last edition, well, Theoden was pretty lackluster. He was pretty garbage, and you rarely saw him on the table. It was Eomer, Knight of the Pelennor, Eomer's old buff profile before they were merged, Eorl the Young, and Erkenbrand. That was your key ingredients for every serious Rohan list, and Theoden never got taken. He had 0 fate, I think. He was just trash. But when the new edition came out, everything changed for Theoden and for Rohan. He became the linchpin of every serious Rohan force. He generates big fight value buffs for all of the Royal Guard and the Riders. He's just absolutely awesome, and he's no slouch. He's an absolute tank as well. He's fight 5 with strike. He's got 3 might points and will and fate to make him survivable as well, and that's exactly how he should be, because Theoden is an absolute beast. I would actually argue from a lore perspective, his profile isn't strong enough. He went crazy on the Palanor fields, absolutely slicing Suladan. He's an absolute beast, and I love his profile, and I love how Rohan plays like Rohan feels like it should now because of his new profile. So he's honorable mention number 1. Number 2 goes to my favorite character of all, and I really love his profile as well, but it's not my favorite, but I do love it, and that is Glorfindel. Glorf is amazing. He's just an amazing character. I love him. He's got this incredible arc from the fall of Gondolin right through into his appearance in the Fellowship of the Ring. And his profile is insane. It's one of the 3 big Elf Lord profiles alongside Elrond and alongside the big old Gil-galad, who is kind of a problem for Glorfindel because Gil-galad and Elrond are so good, Glorf is kind of hard to take in spite of how amazing he is. He's got Fight 7, Courage 7, Strength 4, Defense 7 with his amazing armor, which makes him immune to brutal power attacks. He's got Fortify Spirit eternally cast, so he's really resistant to magic. He's an incredible defensive hero, and of course he's got Lord of the West as well, so re-rolling a wound, re-rolling a dual roll every single combat. So he is absolutely amazing. Asphalos, 12-inch move. I mean, it just goes on and on. He's absolutely incredible. But often, Gil-galad gets chosen over him because of that damage output, and Elrond's a really strong choice inside Rivendell as well, because he's just got so much utility with that offensive magic, as well as the foresight points. So often I find myself wanting to choose those 2 over him, even though he's my favorite. I love the profile, but my number 1 grievance is he needs to have magic. It's insane that Glorfindel, one of the heroes who we actually see actively demonstrating magic in the books, doesn't have any access to spells. So if we ever get a new edition or updates for the Glorfindel profile, I'd be super, super keen to see that. Blinding Light, definitely. Panic Steed, maybe even something more aggressive like Transfix or Compel or Instill Fear would be an interesting choice for him as well, to represent that moment where he essentially scares the Ringwraiths into the Wrath of Bruinen that Elrond creates by unveiling his high elf god tier mode and scares the crap out of them with Aragorn and the hobbits, and they pincer them and all the horses go, "Ah, Elf Lord!" and jump into the water. It's a great moment. But my favorite, who also appears in that scene, and probably I think the best profile in the game, or I can't really think of many people who actually challenge him, and that is the Witch King of Angmar. The Witch King is incredible. He's got this incredible Swiss Army knife component. He can be tiered and scaled up and down because you can change his points cost by how much you spend on his upgrades and abilities. He's incredibly powerful from 200 points right through to 2,000 points. He's an amazing profile for flexibility, but also he can just do everything. You give him the Crown of Morgul and a Morgul Blade, and he's an incredible beatstick. 3 might, up to 20 will points, and 3 fate, so he's survivable as well. Of course, the high defense for every Ringwraith, and then you can chuck him on a horse, an armored horse, a fell beast. There's just so many different ways to play him, and then that's not even getting into his magic. He's one of the strongest, if not the strongest caster in the game. He's got an incredible array of spells. He's good at control, he's good at offensive damage output, and he's just amazing. Then you put him in the Angmar list and you synergize his Harbinger of Evil, his Courage debuff with the Angmar special rules that causes all orcs terror when they're near a spirit, and it just goes to another level. I absolutely love him. And of course, he's just a badass as well. He's got so much character and so much presence, a really fantastic villain. So he is an absolute beast, and he takes my favorite profile for the Middle-earth strategy battle game. And one last little footnote, he has got one of the filthiest tactics and it's situational, but boy can you make it work. My favorite thing to do with the Witch King is to set him up with an orc captain, call a heroic march. Witch King flies forward. You can put him on horse, you can put him on fell beast. He's as a part of that heroic march, right? So he can't charge. He casts Compel, brings someone in to make that charge, and then later in that turn calls a heroic combat, and guess what? When he charges a second time in the combat phase, his movement value is still affected by the heroic march. So that is a potentially 15-inch or 17-inch slingshotting heroic combat in the combat phase. You can effectively have a damage threat range in any given turn of between 30 and 34 inches, depending on what mount you put him on. It is absolutely bananas. So, love me some Witch King, and honorable mentions to Glorf and to Theoden. I really hope that didn't take way too long and use up the whole video. Sorry, Shawnee.
Witch King truly is an incredible pick. I did not expect this. I was, without a doubt, expecting a Rohan hero of some form. Right, next up is Aaron from Vanguard Strikes. You would have seen him on our channel a couple of times, but here he is, talking about his favourite model.
I thought you'd be taller.
So I think for me, my favourite model is probably Huron the Tall, for a couple of reasons. One, the model is sick. Like, it looks awesome. It's resin, but it's still sick. You know, the way that he's just kind of holding his sword while he's riding down on his horse, and he's standing there stoic as hell, just kind of been, yeah, I'm the Warden of the Keys. Epic. Two, I love Huron's backstory. I think it's awesome. Three, the fact that you can put him on a horse, amazing. And he just is a beat stick in combat. So, like, from a competitive perspective, I really like it as well, because his special rules allow you to ensure that when your leader dies, you can kind of go, nah, actually, my leader is still alive because it's Huron. So please enjoy that. I kind of like riding him around with Boz with a banner, and controversially Boz with just a lance instead of a banner, because, you know, those two guys can just get stuff done. But yeah, I think Huron is awesome. So I really like the fact that he's incredibly competitive, especially in the Gondor list. I like the way he works with Aragorn as well, and even Denethor. There's two synergies there, because then if you use sort of Denethor, you can get access to more troops quite cheaply, so it's awesome. But I think he is definitely my favourite model in MESBG, just of all time, because he's awesome.
Aaron has gone with a sick pick here. Genuinely one of my favourite models in the game. Huron the Tall. I've used Huron the Tall in a couple of tournament-winning armies, and he has absolutely killed it. Solid pick. Alright, next up is my boys, the last alliance of Noobs and Men. Obviously mine was at the beginning. These are the rest of the lads going over their favourite models, and there's a few doozies in there.
Now this is what we in the business refer to and call a huge bitch.
It took me a minute. It took me a minute to figure out which one, what model's my favorite. Like, genuinely a very difficult question. So yeah, when Sean first asked me, I was like, okay. So my original thought was maybe Vrashku. He's really fun. I really like him. But then I was like, oh, what if I went with Goroth? And then I've heard someone else has picked Goroth, and he's a shit character anyway. So I had a good thought, and I have decided that the humble cave drake is my favorite, absolutely my favorite model. This is my 3D printed version of it. Fuck, I love this boy. Holy shit, what's not to love? Fucking strength 7, bloody monstrous charge with 4 attacks, hits like an absolute truck, and he's only 150 points. He's cheaper than Aragorn. My god, dude, absolutely slaps. Yeah, really, once I actually realized, once I actually had a proper thought about it, like, god, couldn't go past him. I did think about the Moria captain, though. Just that 35 points for 2 points of might. Oh, also very good. But fuck yeah, man. It's gotta be the cave drake, eh?
So my favourite character in the game has got to be from my favourite army in the game, which is of course the Eastlings. And my favourite hero, right here, Amdur, Lord of Blades. He's got an amazing profile, some insane special rules, and the model itself is just so cool. I've said it before on the channel, I think, and the new Eastling heroes and some Fight 7 orcs that shall remain nameless notwithstanding, he's one of the best non-monster evil heroes in the game. The massive Fight 6 and a hand and a half Elven made blade to win those key strike-offs is a lot to love. 3 might, 3 wounds, courage 6 when broken means he's going to stick around and keep your troops in line while he does it. Also, his special rules, absolutely amazing. Good old blood and glory to keep you striking and moving in the late game after you just kill a little hero. Unending combat stance is amazing, keeping him safe from those pesky hurls and monster charges, keeping him on his feet, keeping him fighting. He's also got the obligatory Eastling rules of Phalanx and Gleaming Horde to synergize with your army, whether he's mounted or on foot, meaning he's just super versatile and you can fit him into any army list you want. But the best stuff is his unique special rules, Herald of Victory and Lord of Blades. Herald of Victory is his banner special rule, meaning he counts as a banner towards Eastlings within 3 inches. It does include himself, so he banners himself, which is just amazing. Extra dice, who wouldn't want that? And if he kills the enemy leader, it becomes 6 inches, meaning it's just a huge force multiplier, and means that he's really good at low points values when you don't have the points to spend on those banners. And Lord of Blades, this is a rule that can be very scary for an opponent, especially if they're running around with Fight 5 heroes. It allows him to heroic strike for free against anyone that strikes against him. So it allows you to save your might for the kill or for moving later on in the game. Amazing, and the ability to change from a combat or a challenge to a strike if your opponent calls a strike can really save you sometimes, and just situational, but a really cool part of that rule. And also the model is just really, really cool. Super dynamic. Just showing him bringing the silver falchion down on anyone stupid enough to get in his way.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Last Lights and Moves of Men. It's Sean K here. Adding my 2 cents into my favourite profile in the game. It's a silly one, and I think that's why I love it so much. It doesn't quite belong in the book, it doesn't really belong on the battlefield, but that's what makes it even really better. I've actually taken it to a few events and had a great time, and I played it casually and had a great time. And yeah, I mean, really, let's not tease you too much. It's this big boy here. It's Tom Bombadil. Yeah, he is a great time. If you don't own this model, it's an absolute joy to paint. The feather is so much fun. The coat is great. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to the game, he's move 6, fight question mark, attack question mark, strength question mark, shoot question mark, wound question mark, courage question mark, because Tom is master is really what it comes down to. He can't be affected by shooting. He can't be affected by magical powers. He can't be, you can't do anything to him. If he is involved in a fight, he wins automatically, but no one makes strikes because Tom's not really here for violence. He's just hanging out, really. He's got 15 will and arguably the most broken spell in the game in the form of a refreshing song. On a 2+, he gives a point of might, will, fate, and a wound back to a model. My time playing him at events and just for fun, I've learnt some very cheeky things you can do. It also has banishment, which really just keeps those, wraiths and barrow whites and stuff from getting up in your grill. But yeah, I really enjoy this profile, and I find myself taking it with my Arnor army. So at 800 points, I'll play 500 points of Arnor, and then Tommy and Goldberry as well together. And it just gives a lot of flexibility and staying power to the already thick horde that is Arnor, like D6 horde. Tommy really brings it home, and is a courage bubble of 3 inches. If you bring Goldberry along, she's got a courage bubble of 6 inches, and together that's 9. He's a great profile, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate in the comments, but it's not necessarily a competitive choice, but he is my favourite profile in the game. And sculpt-wise, he's also really nice. Yeah, just if you want to pick up something just to paint for fun, or just to play those narrative scenarios where he occurs, Tom Bombadil is actually really good, and he's awesome. Give him a shout. If you agree with me and you think he's awesome, or if you disagree with me and you think he's terrible and shouldn't be allowed to be played in the game, let me know in the comments. Let the boys know, and we'll see if I can get him on the channel. And I won't tell anyone I'm bringing him. I'll just play 100 points, allying him with some hobbits. But thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. Catch ya.
It had to be someone with the name Sean, didn't it? Really did. You had to choose Tom Bombadil. He's a lot of fun. He is funky. He does some weird bullshit. He's not impossible to play around. But he makes for a challenge, and personally, I like a challenge, so that does make shit a bit more fun for me. Liam's choice of the Cave Drake kind of came out of nowhere for me. Expecting Vrashku. I was really expecting Vrashku to show up. Because for as long as I've known Liam, it's been, Vrashku's my favourite model. He's an awesome sculpt. But alas, it was the Cave Drake that showed up. And that is a solid pick. Riley, mate. Yeah, I did expect this. Actually, I had two choices. First one was Amdur and Borgir as choices for you, and you've gone for Amdur, which, look, I don't need to explain why. You're the master of the Eastlings in my eyes, and you've given exactly the reasons why here. Just want to say thank you to everyone who's participated in this video, sending in their clips of their favorite models and profiles. It really does mean a lot. You guys, everyone has helped support us in different ways. We would like to try and extend that back to you guys. This does not just count for those guys that participated in the video, this is for everyone. We love this game, we love this hobby, and so if we can help out in any way to help grow and support this hobby, we are 100% there to do it. So once again, thank you for everyone. Everyone's links will be in the description below, so you'll be able to find Facebook, YouTube, for those podcasters, their Spotify's and so on. Everything will be down there for you guys to go and check out. And I please do want everyone to go and check them out. They're incredible content creators. Once again, thank you to everyone who participated in this video. If you as an audience member has a favorite model, which I'm assuming you all do, jump down into the comments below and let us know. We would absolutely love to hear about your favorite model and to hear about as to why they are your favorite model. As for now, we'll see you in our next video. Make sure you do all that stuff, the likes, subscribes, all that cool stuff. I guess it helps. I'm still trying to figure out how this algorithm works. I guess the others will also want that as well, so go and do it for them. Shout out to the end of the video game.